God, my back.
Yeah, well, getting older.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Corn Corner podcast. I'm Wicked Wren, and I'll tell you, an ace in the sleeve or an ace in the hole, all it's really done for me is it's difficult to play a game because I lose out on the aces in a full deck of cards. Can't play all the games because don't have all the cards.
Because they're in the hole or in your sleeve?
That's correct.
Wow. You gotta get those together. Get your aces together. Get your ace together.
And speaking of that, on the Corn Corner,
I didn't
we
introduce
have...
myself yet, but that's
I know,
cool.
but I'm giving you... Speaking of that, on the Corn Corner, we have co-host...
Oh, thank you so much. I'm Cam Damage, and I don't need talk therapy because I have tat therapy.
Fucking God.
I knew you'd like it.
Shit.
And on today's episode, we're talking about therapy. Oh, God.
There are times in life in which you need to speak to somebody about things going on. My mother said that she didn't need to. She did?
Yeah.
She always said that she wasn't broken, so she doesn't need this stuff. But I'll tell you what, it would have helped her.
God.
So today we're gonna be talking about talking to somebody about problems and how that person can help.
Yeah.
Mental health.
Beyond talking, also.
What else can happen in those?
Well, you know, if we're talking about therapy, I'm going to go on my DBT tangent stuff.
I love it.
Yeah.
So you go into an office, you lay down on the couch.
Yeah.
Someone talks to you.
Yeah.
With a pen and paper.
Definitely.
And things like that.
Yeah.
When did you start going to therapy?
There's many. Have you ever been to therapy? This is not a call out. I'm genuinely curious.
I did one on Zoom.
Okay.
Two on Zoom.
Amidst COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which we'll get into that maybe more. I don't like the telehealth therapy. Not good, in my opinion. Not a great time. Anyway, there's many different types of therapy. So what you probably did was CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, and nothing else does it stand for. It stands for cognitive behavioral therapy.
Sure.
There's no way in hell that a brain goes to that before the other thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We're so like
A little bit
OF
goofed up.
pilled.
Yeah.
Like that like
We're a little goofed up
Yeah.
up there.
Anyway, so most talk therapy that people engage in is cognitive behavioral therapy, which I will refer to in its full term as to not use the acronym. But there are a lot of different types of therapy, and ones that go along with cognitive behavioral therapy. Like there's one that's like EMDR, I think it is. That's something to do with eye movements and specific things to change neural pathways as you talk about life things that you're trying to rewire your neural pathways when experiencing anxiety and stuff like that. My favorite one is dialectical behavioral therapy, shortened to DBT.
Wow.
And to answer your question, which I strayed away from, I started going to therapy, which was like talk therapy, when I was a kid. So probably around like, I don't know, 9 or 10. And I could be wrong with that, but I'm just like that vague area probably. Maybe 10 or 11. I don't know. But started then because I was a little anxiety basket case from way back. And I did that type of therapy pretty consistently and then a little more on and off into my early 20s. And then didn't do therapy for a minute and then did DBT for like a year. And now I think I've done a few little rounds here and there, but nothing like super consistent. This is maybe an unpopular opinion. When it comes to cognitive behavioral therapy and dealing with past stuff, not like your current anxieties and worries and stresses you're facing, which I think it's really useful for. But in terms of dealing with like past trauma and stuff, I don't think it's the best one to do, because there's only so many times you can talk about how your mom goofed you up. Like, and every time you get a new therapist, you got to go down the timeline again. There's dig everything up again for like 5 sessions before you do whatever. You get with the therapist, psychiatrist duo person, and all they want to do is give you meds. The amount of times I was like, I think irresponsibly prescribed psychiatric medication in multiple ones at the same time is like wild. Yeah. I think that psychiatric meds are a good thing, and that when handled responsibly and by someone who knows what they're doing and is very engaged with your treatment plan and care is a great thing. But our country is very quick to, oh, you're anxious? Here's Zoloft, whatever. And there's no discussion about how you're going to feel on it, your body getting acclimated to it, if you want to get off it, how to titrate off it, what the side effects are going to be when you come off it, things like that.
Titrate.
Like less and less of a dose over time. You can't just like be on an SSRI and then stop it completely one day, because that's like, you thought you were bad before.
Just you wait.
Yeah. It's going to be real bad.
You said you had a lot of anxiety when you were a kid. How'd that manifest?
Like in life, you mean?
Yeah.
I threw up a lot. So, I'm talking.
It's not funny.
It is.
But it's a little bit.
In retrospect, it's very funny.
It's a little bit funny.
You know how I talked about my
I do know how you
cyclic vomiting syndrome thing that I had as a kid. So I don't know how linked this is to that. I think it's separate things. But I would get so worried and like worked up in anxiety ways that I would literally make myself sick. Like not like physically. I would just become like, I wasn't like,
yeah, no, I get it.
Whatever. Yeah. I just would be like, and then get to a point of that.
What were you afraid of?
And that's what therapy's all about. Who knows? I like struggled socially pretty bad as a kid, where I was just kind of, my whole life, a lot of my anxiety has boiled down to like agoraphobia and fear of the unknown and fear of engaging with things I haven't ever engaged with before or experienced before. So like, even now, if I'm a lot better at it now, but if I have the choice to go to like a coffee shop that I've been to 20 times or a coffee shop that I've never been to, I'm going to go to the one I've been to 20 times because I know exactly which way the door opens, how I'm going to walk in, what people could be working.
People like that.
Yeah, like I know I'm going to order
Humans
whatever.
like it.
Yeah. But like I would at one point in life avoid going to like even familiar places because I didn't want to embarrass myself because I freak out. But as a kid, it would be hard to like, I have a vivid memory of going to kindergarten at St. Joan of Arc and being so nervous to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Wow.
Because I didn't want to like mess it up, and I didn't want people to laugh at me. And instead, I just puked on the floor in front of everyone. So the janitor had to come in and do the sawdust thing.
Well, it makes a lot of sense because it's, avoiding saying the pledge, and then
it's all good.
Yeah. In actuality, if you would have just said it, probably would have gotten less.
Probably would have been fine.
Wow. And so your family was like, your mom was like, you need to go to like some kind of therapy.
Yeah. And it also, it's messy. People who listen regularly and are in my life know that
we know
childhood was a messy time. We forgive people.
She's a lot better. Mom got a lot better.
She rules.
She's great.
The whole family is real good now. She's not dead.
But here, I'm saying I didn't go all the way up. Okay, just here okay. For her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got a lot better. But growing up, it was rough.
Yeah, and that was a hard part of it, which I think is another thing about therapy that people don't think about, is that a lot of times the people who are telling you to go to therapy are the ones that need therapy themselves. Or the ones causing you to need to go to therapy.
Totally.
And that was a hard thing to address, and like to go to therapy and be like, my mom's making me come here, and then to like talk about her the whole time or like things of that vein the whole time. And then they like, and also what's a kid in that situation supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like, because you go do that with a therapist and then you're supposed to go home and act different.
What did you do with the therapist as a 9-year-old? How do they give you strategies?
I don't remember it being like that. And that's the difference of why like dialectical behavioral therapy more than cognitive behavioral therapy. Because a lot of my therapy growing up was literally just talking about this thing happened. It made me feel this way. And then them dissecting those feelings and saying, you know, maybe you could do this next time. Like maybe you could blah, blah, blah next time. But when you're a kid,
You don't have
you
agency.
can't. Yeah. like now I can remove myself from a situation.
Yeah.
Or stand up for myself and say, hey, this made me feel this way. But when you're a kid, it doesn't work that way, especially if you're dealing with someone else who is also mentally ill and struggling with their own shit.
Yeah.
Which was like the case. And I do remember like standing up for myself sometimes and saying like, this makes me feel like this way. And then it just being like, like, I might as well have not said it.
Yeah.
I'll like, whatever.
I wonder if that did have some influence on you, though.
What do you mean?
You stood up for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
That's got to have some lasting power.
Oh, for sure. That was like those years were like a turning point of my like standing up for myself kind of stuff in that way. And much like with addiction stuff, which is previous episode, it's like not a straight uphill line.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like I stood up for myself. Oh, and then other shit happened. And then like, oh, I did another good. And it has been like that through my entire like adult life of learning how to better keep that like upward trajectory with less and less blips.
I think you're doing a great job with it.
I'm doing a lot better now than I ever have, I would say.
Even in the short amount of time we've been friends, I've seen you.
You know,
Right?
I think so.
I think so, for sure.
It's hard because you think about like you look at all your shit in retrospect and you think of the bad times and they so heavily in your brain will outweigh to all the good things you've done or all like the good days you've had and stuff. So I'll be like, yeah, I'm doing better now. But then I'll think of like that whatever stretch of weeks where it was really bad. And that stands out to me as like, I'm not doing any better. But that's like,
Not true.
That's the problem with humans and hindsight and stuff is that we weigh stuff too heavily on the negative.
Do you think that growing up and being trans, do you think that had a big impact on it?
Yeah. Well, it's also hard, you know, because like we didn't know.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about this on other episodes. We didn't know about any of this shit. And I knew about being gay and stuff, but that was also like, it wasn't a problem with my family, like obviously, but it like socially and culturally, that was like, nah. there wasn't that, and anyone that was gay was just like a very flamboyant gay boy, whatever.
Yeah. Will and Grace kind of thing.
Very, yeah. But I think it just makes it all into a jumbled mess of like there's like the normal teenage angst and things happening, but then there's also like, well, something else is going on. And then you get to address that later in life when we learned about stuff.
Yeah, totally.
And then look back at all that and be like,
That makes sense.
yeah.
So you were in therapy as a kid.
Yeah.
And then teenage years, did you do therapy at all?
Yes.
So you were consistent
Yeah.
with therapy.
I was consistent with it up till like college and like went away and didn't do it when I was at Brown. And then I did it Penn State, like the summer before I went to Penn State, because that was like a requirement like of my parents, which makes sense, frankly. And then did it Penn State, but that's when like I got prescribed stuff that was crazy.
You're not on any kind of SSRI now.
No, I'm not on like any psychiatric medication now. Yeah.
And you were for a bit.
Yeah. For a lot of life.
How did that change?
Like, how did I not be on them?
Yeah. How did it feel being on it? Did it give you any help? Did you like it? Did you like,
The problem is, which I think is a problem that a lot of people have when prescribed psychiatric medication, is that they're never just I'm not trying to say everyone is like this, but a large percentage of people are never just taking the medication as prescribed, which means not drinking, not smoking weed, not doing any other like that kind of stuff. Like when you're on a psych med, you need to just be on that. But people, that's like hard. Like people are still going to drink.
You gotta do life.
Yeah. And that heavily affects your meds and how they work. It really does. Like whether people want to admit it or not.
Yeah.
So when I was prescribed stuff, I was still drinking and I was always still smoking weed. So I don't know how
That makes sense.
it could have worked really well, but I was stacking everything against myself by not just like doing the thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow. Coming off of it,
Yeah.
that had to have been hard.
Yeah. Zoloft was like really bad
How?
because
In what way?
you get like these like shocks. I don't know how else to describe it. That like literally you feel like you have to like shake
Yeah.
it out and like your skin is on too tight on your hands and
Wow.
it's like painful.
Wow.
Because I did it cold turkey because I wasn't instructed on, and like this wasn't the time of Reddit where you could be like, how do I come off Zoloft? Like, which is awesome that that's like a resource now, by the way. But it was that, and then you compound that by I'm struggling to come off this med, so I'm gonna drink and smoke weed, whatever.
Why did you decide you had to come off it?
I think then I was like mad because that doctor had prescribed me. I'm just going to list a bunch of things. You're not going to know what they are. Klonopin, Xanax, Zoloft, and Seroquel all at the same time. And that's absurd. I will say right now. Because Klonopin and Xanax are like effectively the same thing, but they're anti-anxiety meds for like
One off.
in the
right?
moment. Yeah, like I'm having a bad time. I got to do one of these real quick. And you can take them preemptively, but most people use it as like, I'm about to have a panic attack. I need to take a K-pen or whatever. And by that point in my like drug and alcohol use stuff, I was like, these are stupid. Yes. I'm just like, so I sold them anyway. And then Seroquel was for sleep, and that's an off-label use of it because it's actually an antipsychotic is what it's prescribed for usually. But it has the side effect of making you sleepy, so it's prescribed for insomnia.
I took I think a Zoloft one time.
Yeah. Just why?
Well,
we've
before
talked about this before.
before a surgery, I think,
Weird. That doesn't make any
or
sense.
something. It was an anti-anxiety the night before.
Are you sure it wasn't like Xanax or Ativan or
Sorry,
something?
it was a Xanax.
Yes, yeah.
Crazy.
What do you mean?
Experience. Like,
I'm so curious. of
yeah,
your-
I just felt. I remember feeling really scared to take it.
Yeah.
Really, really scared to take it. And I had to have a friend be like, it's okay. Like, take it. Like, this is the time. This is
Yes.
what it's made for. This is why you take it.
They're not wrong. Yeah.
So I took it, and it was really scary. And then I took another, when I was recovering, I took another pill that was not pain, but I was feeling a lot of discomfort, not pain. It was just annoying and like, and I took something that just chilled me out.
Yeah.
It might have been a Zoloft,
Yeah.
or a Xanax.
I was like, it wouldn't be so off. But yeah, Xanax. Yeah. Yeah.
and it helped so much.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, this is crazy.
It's they do what they're meant to do when you're doing it in the way. Like,
Yeah.
but also shows how those kind of things can be so addictive.
Yeah.
Because like, oh, I'm having a bad time, I can just pop this, and then it snowballs from there. It's a wild. Psychiatric meds are a whole thing.
Is a gabapentin like that?
A gabapentin is, I think it is the on-label uses for anticonvulsants, I think is what it is. It's like a seizure medication, but it's a nerve pain blocker, like on a nerve level, I think. I'm not 100% on that.
How do opioids play into this?
Like in terms of psychiatric meds,
Aren't they kind of
opioids are a pain medication.
okay?
Yeah.
But they do reduce anxiety and stuff. Because
Yeah.
it rewires your brain
Yeah.
and how it interprets pain,
Yes.
right?
Well, this is when you get into the whole meta talk thing. One can argue that anxiety and depression are a form of pain. Like physical pain isn't the only pain. So you take, narcotics, opioids, whatever, and it dulls everything.
Okay.
Like it's the difference is that with like a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, like which is what like Zoloft is, or like things like that, dopamine managing things, which is like ADD meds and stuff, is that they work on a more specific chemical level. So like your problem with like anxiety or depression is that your serotonin is doing the wrong thing, quote unquote. So you take an SSRI to help manage your serotonin and make your brain do what it should do. Wow. But then if you take, like you go over and take Oxy because you're anxious, that's not doing anything for like not really is it doing anything, and it's not managing it or helping you form better like chemical processes. It's just like, well, now you don't feel anything at all.
Wow. It's addicting.
Yeah. So those aren't psych meds, obviously, like whatever, but like that's where Xanax and K-pens and things like that and Ativan fall in that weird in between of like, that's why meds are so fucked up. And people, they're good and can be so good, but people are so, especially with telehealth stuff since COVID, like people have one appointment with someone and it's like, well, it sounds like you have this. Why don't I write you this prescription for this? And then you whatever. And it's like, okay, like, and then there's no managing it. It's just like, how do you feel on it? And you say, I'm good.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. And that's it. There's no like further dissection. And I just find that really irresponsible.
It seems really hard.
Life.
So like,
am I right?
am I right? It's just really hard to
What's
like.
the deal with therapy?
It just seems like it's hard because it's difficult to see the same person over and over.
Yeah.
And it's hard for them to learn stuff about you and prescribe things properly. And there's gatekeeping and stuff. And then there's some medicines you just need. And it's like really complicated and hard.
It's like a huge uphill battle.
So you were overprescribed things.
Yeah.
You took stuff. You went off them.
Yeah.
You currently don't take anything.
Yeah.
Do you see a therapist now?
No.
Do
I probably, frankly, should again.
What is
Let's be
like
honest, but
mental health therapy? Where are you at with that right now?
so like this is where we talk about DBT. The last time I was like seriously in therapy for an extended period of time, I was doing the thing I always talk about, dialectical behavioral therapy. Made by Marsha Linehan. Anyway,
Thank you so much, Marshall.
I don't even know if she could like suck and be like, but
Never mind.
thank you for this therapy. Anyway, it wasn't just go talk to someone once a week or once every 2 weeks. It was a group once a week alongside individual therapy once a week. So there was like 2 things a week that you had to do. And then there was like a workbook, worksheets and stuff that you would bring to group and talk about or whatever the next week. But the difference with it between cognitive behavioral therapy or most other kinds that are like talk based is that DBT teaches you like skills for life. So it's like there's 4 things, and I'm probably not going to remember them all right now, but there's like distress tolerance, interpersonal communication, like conflict resolution, things like to do when a thing is happening.
It's like actionable stuff.
Yes, like actual things, and everything has a little, what are they called? Is it acronym? Where it's like a word that spells out multiple.
I think that's an acronym.
Okay. It's like that, like everything, like dear man, and then it's like describe, like those things.
Cool.
Which like admittedly can be cringe, but
No, it's not.
like get over it because they're really useful.
It's not cringe.
Yeah. So it's like heavily that based, which I find to be far better and more practical than just talk therapy, because it sets you up for, I'm outside my therapist's office, like I'm in the world, and a thing happened, and I feel
Yeah.
hopeless or whatever the hell is happening. And now you can assume you can like get your shit together enough to be like, hold on, like we talked about this thing. You can go look at like, oh, I should do this skill. I should, look at this worksheet, or like think back to a time when we talked about da 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 da. So like distress tolerance behaviors of when, which also links back into addiction stuff. When you start to feel like you're going to like do something bad, whatever, there's a bunch of different skills, like one's like tip skills, but it's like temperature. So like the other day I told you to put ice on your like head or side of neck.
Yes, I'm on a weird night.
Yeah. But that's a big one. Or like run cold water, or put cold water in your face, or take a whole cold shower, or put ice cubes in a bowl with water and dunk your face in it, because it'll instantly calm like your parasympathetic nervous response. So you are like hardwiring your body to be like, hold on now.
Yeah.
Like we're not going to jump off that mental cliff, like whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's like paced breathing, like all actual like physical things that you can do to calm down. And I find that a lot better than like, well, I just need to like wait to talk to my therapist about it.
Yeah.
Which is valid also, for sure. And like people do need to do that. But I just think it is also great to have practical life skills.
Yes.
And it was also an invaluable thing for me in terms of interpersonal communication and conflict resolution, of like, some of this comes up in rope stuff, frankly, where if you're like talking to someone and it like teaches you how to have a productive discussion, whatever, around like a problem with someone, versus having huge blowout arguments that just make things like get worse and worse, and teaches you how to like think logically and emotionally instead of just one or the other. So you're like taking all these things into consideration, which I find is like, I don't know, a lot of people don't approach like conflict with other people that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think it comes up in the rope community as a weird side thing.
Yeah.
You know?
All problems are really about communication.
Yeah.
And kink and
Yeah.
rope and shit.
So it just one of the like 4 pillars is just how to effectively communicate with people, whether it's good or bad. And that was a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm pretty freaking good at it now.
I think you are good at having
Yeah.
conversations. I've never felt like I can't have a conversation with you. You're always really good at listening.
Yeah.
And de-escalation. You're always good at it too.
That's one of the big things is de-escalation in DBT stuff, which is also a useful thing that I don't think people think about. I was going to say something else, and now I can't remember what I was going to say.
When you said about dunking your head in a bowl of water,
Yeah.
I thought about my favorite bowl that I own. It's in the cabinet right there.
Sure.
It's glass.
Is that the only glass bowl you own?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's my favorite.
I am familiar with that.
Anyway, it's in the fridge right now and it's full of kumquats. Do you like
Okay.
kumquats?
I have had them like twice ever. Aren't
Wow.
they quite bitter?
Bitter and sweet.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of sweet and savory.
Is bitter savory?
No.
Okay.
I said the wrong word. But anyway, I did think about that and I thought to myself, ooh, that's going to be a fun treat for us.
The kumquats, or we're going to go dunk our faces in water after this?
No kumquats. I don't need to dunk my face in it.
No, I don't feel like I do either, frankly.
Yeah.
Doing all right on
So-
that front.
Everyone says everyone should be in therapy.
Yeah.
That's a phrase that's like thrown around a lot. What do you think about that?
I like agree and disagree. I think a lot more people do need to be in therapy.
Yeah.
And just like we said before, it's such an uphill battle to get into therapy. Like not just, it's an uphill battle already to start therapy, to admit that you need to seek therapy, to then do whatever loopholes, jumping through hoops, whatever have to happen through your insurance or whatever to get a referral, blah, blah, blah. Then you get to the point of meeting a therapist. What if you don't like that therapist?
Yeah.
Then you got to do it all over again. And it's all set up in such like a shit ass way.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't think everyone needs therapy. I think some people can, like, I don't think you need therapy. You're like well adjusted if you have mental things going on, you can easily talk to a friend, and that's enough.
Yeah.
Like that is like good for the scenario.
Yeah.
But other people who just talking to a friend isn't, it needs to be more than that, or they need to work out life skill things. Like before I did DBT, I couldn't, if a conflict happened, it was like,
Really?
yeah, but it was also because of who the conflicts were with often. But, but I'm very easy to plummet, like to just like hit a spiral and be hopeless, cyclical thoughts. It's really easy to like get to that place for me usually. And now it'll be maybe like a few hours of like hopelessness. And then usually I can get out of it in some way by doing like opposite action or whatever, which is another DBT skill. Like, you know, when you're sad, so you just want to listen to sad music or like, and just like wallow.
Yeah.
Like opposite action is you're sad, so you put on like Rusted Root or something that makes you like, that's completely happy or whatever.
Totally.
And it may be annoying in the moment and you're going to be like,
Yeah, but it does help.
yeah, but you're not feeding into the negative thing.
That makes sense.
So yeah, I don't know.
What are some of your current coping mechanisms that you do? What are some of your current, I mean, is coping a bad word actually? Or what are some of your current,
I think, yeah.
when you feel something happening?
Yeah.
What are your most common triggers?
Yeah.
And what are your most common
Strategies. Yeah, like to circumvent whatever. Strats. Isn't that a like speed running term?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
When you're going for an any percent on
Go, keep going. I love it.
on life.
Yeah.
On the day maybe.
What was it? What percent?
Any percent.
Any percent.
Any percent is when you accomplish some objective quickly as you can.
Okay.
Anyway, whatever. Go on.
Okay.
Like I said, just speed running.
Yeah.
Accomplishing an objective as quickly as you can.
How do you speed run therapy?
Any percent usually means beat the game, whatever that's defined by, without as quickly as you can beat the game without all the extra objectives.
Okay. Yeah. No side quests, whatever
Yeah.
shit. Okay.
Anyway,
you don't want to do that with life.
You want to 100% it.
Yeah. I think that for me, opposite action and temperature are my two like biggest ones. So I'm a big cold shower, cold water on face. Sometimes if I'm in the car, you may have not seen it, but I'll put my wrist on the window if it's cold out, because like it'll be cold on my wrist. Whatever, things like that. And then opposite action of like, you know, I don't want to get out of bed. So like, you just get out of fucking bed. Opposite action. Like I want to watch something super depressing, but then I'll put on, like yesterday I put like Bridgerton on.
Yeah.
Cause it was like, like let's listen to classical remixes of modern songs while there's a pseudo period piece playing.
That makes sense.
Instead of watching like Prisoners or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So those kind of things. And just cause they're easy and kind of like private, like it doesn't require anyone else to do something with you, stuff like that.
That makes sense.
Other ones are, I haven't really had to use a ton of them, but conflict resolution or like interpersonal communication is typing out what I want to say before I engage in a conversation. I almost always do that, even if it's not like a super serious thing. If it's anything that's like at all something, I'll like type it out and maybe run it by a friend, which is often you, or just like read it myself, like sleep on it, whatever, and come back to it. But I also want to say on that note, that's something you can do in person too, and people shouldn't be embarrassed about that.
Yeah.
Is like, if you need to have a serious conversation with someone, make an outline or like take notes of things that you want to say that you like need to say. Because it's too easy to get into the conversation and get and not get to say all the things that you like need to. Yeah.
There's also people that are really good at having conversations like that.
Yeah.
And they kind of thrive in that environment, and they see that they're overpowering somebody, and they like
Will
that.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard.
Yeah.
I learned in job interviews sometimes to say, that's a great question, let me think about it for a second.
Yeah.
And it's hard because like you sit there in silence for 20 seconds or something. But it's good because you get to like think.
Yeah. That goes with like if a conversation, argument, whatever gets to a place with someone where it's escalating to like a boiling point, just being like, we need to,
Yeah.
I want to come back to this later.
Yeah. You can't have that conversation right now.
And I think people don't utilize that enough, or they'll say that, but then it's not taken seriously.
Yeah.
Like, can we talk about this in 2 hours? I need to go calm down. Or can we talk about this tomorrow? Whatever.
Well, I think it's a lot of ego because the other person doesn't want to lose an upper hand.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose an upper hand, whatever it is. But that's not about conflict resolution at that point.
Yeah.
That's about ego.
Yeah. So people just need to like,
if you're viewing it through who's winning, who's losing.
Yeah.
Then of course you don't want to take a break. You don't want to take a time out.
I think that's just that point of who's winning, who's losing, is that people look at conflict with other people as like something to win.
Yeah.
Which is obscene. Like, you're on the same team, no matter what's going on. Like,
it is hard to bring these things up later because once emotions go down, you kind of don't want to bring it up again because it might be challenging or whatever.
Yeah. But also, it's most often a benefit to me, or in my opinion, rather, when you do take that time away from the thing to like look over what has happened in the conversation so far and look at what you want to say otherwise. Because sometimes you may look back on the conversation you had with the person and be like, man, I was kind of freaking out about nothing.
Yeah.
Or I think they misunderstood this thing that I was trying to say and maybe I should explain that better. Or
that's something that happens to me a lot is I say a thing and it doesn't come out the way I want it to.
Yeah.
That happens to me. That's happened pretty consistently in my life.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn that the hard way.
Like that. So how do you...
My intention is usually not taken properly. So, or not properly. It's taken in a way, but it's not the way I want it to be taken. And I just make a note that like, usually with this person, the way I approach a conversation, it doesn't usually work. And I'm just like, oh, I need to go with this approach instead.
So you like have different methods depending on whatever. Yeah.
And on the thing or the person or the whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's usually about like not validating them and this and that. And it's like, I never meant to do that.
Yeah. I think it's rare that people mean to be like hurtful or something in those scenarios where you've gotten to a point of having a conversation about something. And if they are meaning to, it's like, meh. But that's a whole other, this can be like the last thing I say about DBT. But there's a big thing. Dialectic means two things that are true at once. That's a shitty definition, but that's kind of what we're going for. So it's like, instead of using but and statements, you say and. So like this sucked and I can do better. Instead of like, this sucked, but I can do better. Like,
that's really cool.
Like that was a bad example, but it's but puts more weight on one half of the sentence.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
I think that was a great example. That sucked and I can do better.
Yeah.
That's great.
So like,
two things are true at once.
Yeah. That's my biggest suggestion to people, especially in like self-talk stuff, is using and instead of but.
How?
And even like, I made that Instagram post the other day about how I'm viewing myself and being harsh on myself and where I want to be. But I used and through like the whole thing, I'm pretty sure.
Amazing.
Like this is really hard and, you know, things will keep changing and life keeps going, whatever. But just changing that small thing of like, when you want to say but, say and instead as the addendum to the sentences, whatever.
Well, thank you so much for giving us that action item. It's very DBT of you.
Thank you so much.
And this is a call out to BetterHelp. If you would like to sponsor
our first
podcast,
sponsor, you know, I actually don't endorse BetterHelp.
I don't care if they want to give us money.
That's
I
fair.
will talk about them on the podcast.
What's we're obviously wrapping up here. Do you have any final thoughts to people regarding these things? We're on different sides of the coin on therapy.
I really don't.
That's fair.
I don't really have anything to say about it. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything to say about it.
Yeah.
I did it, and my issues that I wanted to bring up were pretty obvious.
Yeah.
I just need to talk to my dad. You know, it's like having a conversation.
There
it's
it
like,
is. Yeah. And it can be as simple as that. Like maybe you need to see someone just for like this one.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
this makes
pinpoint
sense.
on the timeline. Yeah.
I felt like it really fed my ego because you get to sit there and talk about yourself for an hour. Nothing more fun than that.
It's a nightmare for me. So I have a podcast.
And a lot of things. This is my therapy. Yeah. A lot of the things that you said about DBT resonate, and I realize that I do.
Yeah.
I set up a lot of, if this happens, I should do this scenarios in my life, and I've kind of always done that,
Which is great.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that would be my, if you're thinking about therapy and that you think you may need therapy or people in your life are hinting that you do, it's probably not a bad idea to look into it. It's not a shameful thing. It is a hard thing to like confront and to get into, but I mean, try. It's okay if you try and fail several times. It's okay if you like need to like try and then you're like, ugh, and you have to come back to it. It's worthwhile to try to see it through. If you can't get yourself to see a therapist, try looking up DBT worksheet stuff.
Yeah, or listen to the Corn Corner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But seriously, Google DBT worksheets because there's a lot of stuff and you could just read those and probably get a little
Bit
nice
out
little
of it.
action insights. Yeah.
I like the fact that it is actionable.
Yeah. That's I think that is far more helpful in existing as a human than only talking to someone because it is both things, but it doesn't do anything if you just go in a therapy room and talk to someone and then do jack shit outside the therapy room. That's not gonna do much for you. You gotta act ways outside of the Freud room, you know?
Yeah. Well, speaking of mantras and things to do, we on this podcast have a phrase that we say, a mantra, if you will.
Yeah.
It was created
By patreon.com.
the Corn Corner.
Which is a great mantra. It really rolls off the tongue. You can go there. We have multiple levels. They all get the same thing, but it's pay what you want depending on how much you like us.
Support us. $5, $10, $15. You get ad free.
Yeah.
And you get treats. I post a bunch of photographs that I take on there.
Yeah, actually, there are other random things that
Just random bullshit. But you know what?
If you like us, you want to consume,
Yeah.
things that are safe for work for once, maybe, please.
Well, look, it was great co-hosting a podcast with you again.
Your hands just ready than mine for once.
Yeah, I got a little bit sweaty.
Everywhere else is very
We're
sweaty.
going to hand wash that baby.
Yeah.
All right, well, look, you could be shucked
Or creamed.
if you're in the family. God damn it.
When you're here.
It's hard to remember the different phrases.
Doesn't
and how
matter
they
what
lay
kind
out.
of corn you are. Whether you're shucked or you're creamed, it doesn't matter what kind of corn you are. Just as long as you're kind of corn.
Okay. You did the whole thing?
It doesn't matter if you're shucked.
It doesn't matter if you're shucked or if you are creamed.
It doesn't matter what kind of corn you are.
Just be creamed.
Crime corn.
Grind corn. All right, everybody. Well, look.
What?